I know I just threw a lot of information at you, and I guess I want to take a few minutes to see if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, this is Drew. I had one question. What county was it that the property taxes were raised in?
This was Osage County. It's directly south of Shawnee County. And I also see that Tony has a question here. He said he thought he heard someone say that the Senate probably won't visit the abolition bill this year, and he just wanted to know why that was.
The reason is that number one reason is we don't have the votes in the Senate. We have some work to do to have enough votes for the bill to pass in the Senate. We probably don't have enough votes to get the bill out of the committee. The Senate took the leadership in prior years and would like the House to take the leadership now. The other reason is that there are many more new people in the House, and they're much more interested in this issue. There are greater numbers. There are more new people. They're more moderate, and they're more interested in the issue than we see over on the Senate side. So that's why I made that prediction that probably nothing's going to happen on the Senate side this year. And certainly, as we move forward, we hope that will change.
So Frances also has a question. She asked, could you repeat the name of our House representative that introduced the House bill? And then also, has Brownback said whether or not he would sign the bill?
Our House side champion is Representative Stephen Becker, a former judge who is from Bueller. And regarding Governor Brownback, he has made public comments about his lack of comfort with the death penalty. He has moral and religious reservations about the death penalty, and it is our belief that if the bill passed, he would sign it.
Okay, and Craig has another question. He says, regarding the difference between Sedgwick County and Wyandotte County, is there a difference in the approach between the prosecutors in each county? Specifically, does the Wyandotte County DA negotiate more and get more pleas than Sedgwick? And Craig, I'll answer that real quickly, and then I'll let anyone else chime in if they want to. But you are absolutely right. It's at the discretion of the prosecutor to choose whether or not to pursue a death sentence. And so the district attorney in Sedgwick County has been more likely than the one in Wyandotte County to pursue death sentences for violent crimes. I don't know if anyone else has anything they want to add on Craig's question.
I'd just say I agree with you, Allison. You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay. Well, so since we've talked a little bit about not only why you should talk to your legislators and what to say to them, I'm going to turn it back over to Lori so she can start telling you a little more about the how of talking to your legislators.
Thanks, Allison. Yeah, we have spent time and talked about the process of the messaging and taking that in and being repetitive and consistent in that messaging. There's one other component, and that we may have people on the phone that are really comfortable with talking with their legislators. We may have people that this is going to be a pretty new experience for them. We may have, there was a lot of, as Mary said, there's a lot of new members. There also was a big shakeup in redistricting this year. So we may have, where you used to know your legislator, you don't know them now. And so really want to apply to make that one more component here to making us even more effective is applying that great Kansas common sense and asking some questions about learning as much as you can about who your legislators are to approach them. That gives you a comfort level, knowing a little bit more about who you're talking with, and it also may help you take a look at the messaging that we'd like to put forward that we've found to be effective, and really what matters to you, and able to put that in a context with knowing who you're talking to. And that's just a practical matter. We all sort of respond better to people who are kind of talking our language. So if we ask them common sense questions, that will help us get better knowledge. You may have seen all the, the great thing about state legislators are they're really out amongst the community. They're not it's not like the governor that comes in with security or maybe a member of Congress. It's got a staff entourage or whatever. They're really out and about, whether they're incumbents or newbies. Figure out where you've seen them. You may know what church they go to. You may know what they do for a living because they've mentioned it in a speech. But try to gather that in and get that information for yourself. If you don't know, you probably know somebody in the community that might be more familiar with your legislator, and it just gives you a comfort zone and helps you be a bit smarter in approaching and talking with them, whether you are pigeonholing them at an event or whether you're writing a letter. It gives you a sense also of prioritizing. And don't hesitate, and Mary will talk about this more, don't hesitate to contact the KCADP office because we're always about the business, and they are there of learning more about the legislators and gathering information and sharing that, and it makes everybody more effective as a messenger. And again, stay positive. And try to mix up the way in which you approach people. We talked about needing to use consistent messaging, and you can go to the next slide, Mary. Use consistent messaging and contact people over a course of time, but so it doesn't really feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again. You may want to mix up the vehicles the communications vehicles. The circle at the top there, sending a letter, calling the office, writing a letter to the editor, sending an email, or meeting somebody in public. If you space those things out over time, you can indeed use the core messages and repeat them over and over again, but they're sort of feeling different. They're approaching the member differently. You're probably going to strike a chord one direction or another, and what it does is have that steady drumbeat. If you're out there and you, like, 1 month you do this, and the next couple of weeks you run into them at an event, and then maybe later on you write a note, an email, and make sure the office knows there's an event coming up in your area. You can sort of spread it out, use the core messaging and repeat it, but also vary the vehicles in which they're hearing from you. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, now the one thing that you control best is when and how you contact your legislator. So here we go. You have written your letter. You have a couple of weeks or a month later, you've run into and spoken privately with your legislator at the soup supper. You've done the letter to the editor. It's like, what else can I do and how else can I help? And the suggestion would be everybody is probably got an awful lot more that they can do that they just haven't thought about. And if everybody adds one more component or one more voice to this team, then we all get quite a bit bigger. And what do I mean by that? Let's say, okay, I've got a family member. I want to talk to them. I want to try to get them to join the activist team and be that second voice that I've brought to the table. Or maybe you don't want to bother your family. You don't want to go that direction, but you've got an opportunity at your Sunday school class, or you're involved in an organization, and they have speakers every once in a while. Then contact KCADP. We've got board members. We've got staff members. Mary, we've got folks that can go out and give a presentation. Or maybe you just have the opportunity to get some materials from the KCATP office and put it at an event you go to, and make mention of it and encourage people to get some additional information. There's always a way that there's one more component everybody can bring to the table. The most effective you are is with yourself, but the bigger we get, the stronger we get, the faster we can repeal the death penalty in Kansas. So Mary's going to get much more into what you can do next, but I at least wanted to mention that. And Mary, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. We also had a question, and the question had to do with the Amnesty International Group, KC chapter, The Amnesty event relating to the topic of prisoners at risk wrongful conviction. Local exonerees will share their stories in spoken word and in music, and some popular local bands. They'll have a table on legislation and opportunity for people to become inspired to write letters to their legislators. And we do have some sample letters. We have two organizers that are in the area, Mike Fonkert and Kristen Bolig, have mentioned this event to me, and we are planning to participate. So we'll be involved with that, and we'll be providing resources. Carolyn also has, what about rights such as new violent crime? That's an excellent question. And, of course, the not-so-new and high-profile violent crimes are mentioned to us. Carolyn is our volunteer lobbyist, and she's involved in calling on legislators and talking with them, and probably has had the same questions that I've had about the high-profile crimes that stand out in people's minds. But I'll tell you this, some of the legislators have answered their own question about that. They'll say, but, you know, that case is particularly appalling, but, you know, this is about public policy, and it's not about an individual case. The issue is about public policy, not just the particular case that they most recently read about or saw something about in the news that, you know, struck them as, gosh, isn't. I think some of them already realize that this is a statewide issue. It is a big policy issue, and you have to sort of rise above the individual case level. And so when we talk, we try to redirect the conversation back to the big picture. It looks like there's another question. And Carolyn says, yeah, she's been involved in trying to redirect those conversations too. Yeah, and right. Promoting the Amnesty on KKFI. Yeah. That's certainly going to be a great thing as well. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about making the plan. You know, the first question is, do I know what I need to know to help? And if you don't, please get in touch with your organizer. And I'll go over the names of the organizers. They're on this PowerPoint a little further down. And, of course, you know, you can get them on our website too, but I'll go over them. So you can contact your organizer and get what you need to know. We have information packets, we have one-page packets, we have additional resources and information that are for your use. Do not hesitate to ask. And, of course, just to talk to the organizers or to me or to Carolyn or to anybody who's associated with KCADP and just ask the question. And you will have questions that come up after this presentation and later on that we didn't answer, so don't hesitate to ask. Our website is a great source of information. The Death Penalty Center, their website is a great source of information as well. So, you know, those are just a few ways that you can come to know what you need to know to help and where you go to get the assistance. What's my message or the messages? Those are some of the most effective messages. And one of the great things that happens in effective campaigns is that the legislators are hearing the same thing all the time. There's no difference in what they hear from one time to another. It's very consistent. It's that constant drumbeat that Lori mentioned for repeal.